Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to week 7 of Go Healthy Plus. I hope everyone's Wednesday is good today. Like you can see here on the slide, your 7th tracker is due today. So if you haven't submitted that tracker today, please make sure you do after class. Just remember that, let me see, I do have everyone's mic on mute, of course. As you know, you can always unmute your mic to ask questions or comments. Of course, I have the chat feature available as well, so you can do the same, all right? So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm just going to remove my camera so you can focus on the PowerPoint, but I will pop back on during the Q&A session, okay? So what we're going to do today is we're going to start off discussing the success that you had from last week's action steps. We're then going to get to the topic of the day, which is talking about navigating the grocery store and reading food labels. Which you do remember when you took the original Go Healthy class, we had a whole section on reading food labels. So we'll just kind of give you a quick review about that, okay? And then we will get to our discussion question section. Then we'll introduce the week's action steps and next week's topic, okay? And then we'll finish up giving you a reminder about next Wednesday's tracker, all right? So let's talk about the success from last week's action steps, which we talked about meal planning. The specific action step or steps here was to determine how you could incorporate meal planning steps and or meal prepping into your weekly routine. Just kind of a quick review of the 6 steps to successful meal planning. Number 1 was to make yourself a master list. Number 2, choose your grocery shopping day. Number 3 was to check your calendar. Number 4 was to actually write out the meals. Number 5 was to make your grocery list. And number 6 was to get prepping and or cooking. So my one question is, how did you incorporate meal planning steps and or meal prepping into your weekly routine? So I'll open up the floor if you want to just unmute your mic, or if you want to send me a chat. In regards to if you did any meal planning, did you do any meal prepping? You can just simply answer yes. Or if you want to get a little bit more detailed, you can tell us just a little bit, maybe about what you did. Anyone? And you might be typing a chat right now, not sure. No takers today? All right. Well, moving forward, I would definitely encourage you to for sure do some meal planning, because that can help you, you know, get your fruits and veggies in, your lean sources of proteins, your whole grains, your low fat, fat-free dairy products, reduce those added sugars, et cetera, et cetera. So I really would encourage you to do meal planning. And the second step, I would definitely encourage you to do some meal prepping, especially if one of your barriers is maybe time as far as cooking uh, good, healthy, nutritious meals on a regular basis. Okay. All right. Okay. So Tor said she didn't have any luck with meal prepping, which is fine, but she did do the meal planning. So yeah, I would definitely at least do the meal planning. That would be the number 1 step for sure. Okay. Well, thank you, Tor, for chiming in on that. So we will go ahead and move to the topic of the day, which is navigating the grocery store. Now we're going to watch a video. It's, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes long. Of course, you do have this video link in your booklet. Okay. So what we'll do is once we watch this video, we will come back and we will review. All right, so let me pull up that video. Okay. All right, here we go, and it's 2 minutes and 43 seconds. Enjoy.
As the number of regular supermarkets increases, more and more people have access to the basic ingredients they need to make simple, healthy meals.
Another obstacle people erect to cooking is the idea that to cook you must go to the farmer's market and buy all local and organic food, and that's really not the case. The first and key decision, if health is a concern, is moving off of processed food and onto real food. I'm talking about plants and animals in their more or less natural state, or things that are very lightly processed, like pasta or flour, or things like that. And those things are still in your supermarket. They're mostly on the periphery of the supermarket. And one way to shop is sticking to the perimeter of the store. That historically is where the produce is, where the meat is, where the fish is, and where the dairy is.
When people visit the supermarket to buy perishable items like milk or eggs, the most direct routes to those items will often be stocked with the most heavily processed foods, things like cereals, chips, and sodas. In many countries today, food marketing is a big business. In the US alone, billions of dollars are spent establishing brand loyalty and placing highly processed items at eye level where we can easily reach them. This can make it difficult to leave the supermarket with only the milk and the eggs we intended to buy. For this reason, it's a good idea to make a shopping list before you go to the store, and then try and stick to that list. Going grocery shopping when you're hungry can also dramatically increase the temptation to buy calorie-dense, highly processed foods.
Avoid the center aisles. The center aisles are where the imperishable foods, the foods that are immortal, live. And you know, food is alive and it should eventually die. And a food that doesn't, there's something we should wonder about. It's been over-processed. It's been hyper-processed.
One way to tell if a food is hyper-processed is to look at the number of ingredients listed on the packaging. A food that contains fewer ingredients is almost certainly less processed. Also, if we can recognize the ingredients listed, this almost always means the food is less processed than foods containing ingredients that the average person has never heard of. And remember, foods that don't come with ingredient lists, like fruits and vegetables, are usually the best choices of all.
Best room. Okay, yeah, I need to forward you to your credit manager, Shane. So if you'll hold on one moment, let me transfer you to him, okay? One second. You're welcome.
All right, let me pull back up our PowerPoint and give you a quick review of what was said. Give me just a second about navigating the grocery store, okay? All right. Okay, so in the video, they listed kind of some tips to shop smart. I am going to add maybe at least one more of those. So one of the tips they listed was to plan ahead to save time and money. And that's one of the things we talked about last week with meal planning, is again, planning ahead, writing that out on your grocery list, and shop according to the grocery list. I guarantee if you do that, you're going to adhere, probably for the most part, to that grocery list. All right. And again, that's going to help you save time. It's going to help you save money. And then the second one is don't shop hungry. Don't shop hungry. If you go into the grocery store hungry, you might make some choices that are just kind of influenced by your immediate hunger, okay? And then the third tip to shop smart is to shop more in the store's perimeter. The store's perimeter is usually stocked with more of your natural foods, which are foods more in their natural state. They're less processed. As opposed to shopping more in the interior of the store. Yes, the interior of the store still does have some healthy options, especially things like, dried beans, peas, and lentils, whole grain products, canned vegetables, frozen vegetables, etc. But for the most part, the more natural foods are in the perimeter of the store, okay? Whoops. And then the next one is I just talked about shop less in the store's center aisles, okay? And number 5, and I think this is helpful. I know it's helpful for me, especially if you have a busy lifestyle, is to stock up on those healthy convenience foods for each food group. And I know everyone had a chance to look through pages 47 through 49, but it's some good information on some healthy convenience foods. And I would say for me, when it looks at each food group, for the proteins, for example, some good healthy convenience foods are things like canned tuna or pouches of tuna, also rotisserie chicken, which is actually my number one go-to. Things like string cheese, Greek yogurt, also like frozen fish, frozen shrimp. Uh, Things like canned beans, peas, and lentils are the ones that are dried. Those are good plant-based proteins. Then when you look at things like your veggies, some healthy convenience foods would be like your bagged leafy greens. And I don't know who mentioned that last week, asked a question, is that a good healthy option? And that's a very good healthy convenient option. Also, you can do pre-chopped veggies as well. Things like pre-chopped broccoli sprouts, all of those different things that you can get. Also, things like canned vegetables, especially the lower sodium. Frozen vegetables are also good, healthy, convenient options there. When you look at your fruits, some healthy, convenient ones would be obviously like your fresh fruit, your fruit that is actually cut up. A lot of times you see those in things like your melons, and also frozen fruits of all types that have no added sugars. Then you can look at your grains, some healthy, convenient ones there are things like your rolled or your quick oats, pre-cooked whole grain pouches like the brown rice and things like that. And then your book also lists some things like some meal starters that can be healthy, convenient options. Okay. And, I know that Bird's Eye has a lot of those things, healthy choices, etc. Okay. So I think that would be really good to consider, especially if you have a busy lifestyle and you want some healthy convenience options. And then the next tip to shop smart is to read food labels, which we're going to review on the next slide. So again, plan ahead to save time and money. Don't shop hungry. Shop more of the store's perimeter. Shop less in the store's center aisles. If you do have a busy lifestyle, I would highly recommend stock up on some of those healthy, convenient foods for each food group. And then lastly, read the food labels, okay? Now, reading the food labels. Of course, like I said earlier, when you did the original Go Healthy class, we did have one whole class on reading food labels. So this is just going to be a refresher for you. So as you know, with food labels are required to be on any food that has been changed from its original state. Okay. Now, the nutrition facts panel is all of those numbers, all of that information is based on one serving. If you were to do a second serving of that food item, or if it's a beverage item, then you would have to double all of those numbers, okay? Now, 4 things we're going to go through again. Serving information. As you know, on the nutrition facts panel, it gives you how many servings are in that container. It tells you what that serving size is. The second thing that's on a food label is the amount of calories in that one serving. It tells you that. And number 3, it lists the following nutrients. They have to list the total fat, the saturated fat, the trans fats, the cholesterol, sodium, total carbohydrates. Under total carbohydrates, they have to list the dietary fiber, the total sugars, which is a combination of naturally occurring and added sugars. And then they have to tell you how much of those sugars are your added sugars. It's required to tell you your protein and then 1 vitamin and 3 minerals, okay? And as you do know, on number 4, when you look at that, the percent daily value, that shows you how much a nutrient in 1 serving of the food contributes to a daily diet of 2,000 calories. So you would want to use this percent daily value to compare foods and to choose products. So you've got 2 things there. Use percent daily values to compare foods and to choose products that are higher in nutrients you want to get more of, which we're going to see that shortly, and lower in nutrients you want to get less of. Now, the nutrients to get less of would be your saturated fats, sodium, and added sugars. The nutrients to get more of would be like your dietary fiber, all your vitamins and minerals. So as a general rule of thumb, you have the 5%, 20% rule. Okay, the 5% or the 20% rule. 5% or less is considered low in that nutrient. 20% or more is considered high in this nutrient. Okay, so when I look at a food label, one of my number 1 things I look at is I look at that percent daily value, especially, for example, if I am picking out a food item that I want to make sure it has little or no added sugars. I look at that percent daily value. And with that percent daily value, you want that percentage to be low as possible. Say if I'm trying to get more fiber into my diet, I look at the percent daily value. Of course, what I'm looking for is that percentage to be higher. Let's just say if I'm looking at a food product, especially animal sources, I look at that saturated fat, and my goal is to keep that percentage as low as possible. Same thing, sodium. If I'm trying to keep my sodium content low, I look at that percent daily value real quickly, and I try to get that percentage to be lower. Now, I will say, if you look at protein, protein is only required to put a percentage on the list if it touts protein on their label. For example, you might have a animal product or a dairy product that says on the label, it may say this is a good source of protein. When it says that or anything indicating it's a good source of protein, then they have to put the percentage there. Okay. So does anybody have a question? Again, I know that was a quick review. Anybody have a question on the food label? Anybody? Let me see here. Okay, so Gwen, I see you're off mute. Do you have a comment or a question based off the food label?
No, sir.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. Well, if no questions, then we are going to go to our discussion questions. And I think we have 3 of these discussion questions. The first one is, what is your strategy in shopping smart in the grocery store? Do you have a certain strategy? Do you try to focus more on the perimeter of the grocery store, a little bit less on the interior? You know, do you make sure you don't go to the grocery store hungry? Are you shopping from that list that you made? You know, are you reading food labels? Are you, maybe trying to stock up on some healthy convenience foods? Anybody that wants to chime in?
This is Patty. I
Hey,
try
Patty.
to shop from a list,
Mm-hmm.
and I definitely try not to go when I'm hungry.
Yes, good. And I'm gonna pop my video back on. Yeah, so that's two good strategies you can use. Shop from a list and don't go when you're hungry, so you won't make that hunger impulse buy. Mm-hmm. Anybody else with a certain strategy you use in shopping smart in the grocery store? Okay, well, okay, Tor said she's been doing some research on all the natural ingredients, looking for products. Yeah, so that's the thing. If you want to shop for more what they call whole foods, those are the ones that really have one ingredient, and that's the food in its natural state. And like they said earlier, if you look on that ingredients list, the less, the less things written on that ingredients list, the more natural it is. If you see a lot of words on that ingredients list, the more processed it is. So yeah. So yeah, looking for more all natural products, whole foods, ingredients. All right, well, let's go to the second question here. And again, I've in the booklet, it gives some good information right there. Let me see, I just had a few chats coming through. Sabrina says she's been trying to shop at healthier food stores. Okay, good. Yeah, so you can shop at those stores that probably offer, I know Whole Foods, the store. One of their main selling points is they try to really give the customers more whole foods, which are ones more in their natural state, even though they still have some processed foods as well. Tor said, yes, I had no clue almond milk had so many ingredients. Yeah, they will have to put ingredients in there, especially some preservation things and things like that. Mm-hmm. All right, what are your favorite healthy convenience foods? Does anyone have any certain healthy convenience foods? Like I said, my number one is a rotisserie chicken. It's awesome. My number two is Greek yogurt. Awesome. Very convenient, very healthy. I buy things like quinoa, brown rice that's in the bag. You out of that, you can either buy the ones that require you to cook it longer, or you can purchase the ones that are more instant that require less cooking.
The steamable vegetables that are in the frozen department are
Yeah.
real easy. You can just take a mixed vegetable and put it in the microwave and be done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an excellent, and that's some ones we do as well, is in the frozen section for the veggies, you can get those steamables. Those steamables are really good. Mm-hmm. Great options. Of course, another one of our go-tos are cut vegetables, especially like the cut broccoli, the cut Brussels sprouts. We like those as well. The chopped salads, and then Sabrina said the chopped salads in her own oil dressings. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Anybody else with maybe what you have as a healthy convenience food? All right, and if that chat comes through, I will grab it. So let's go to that last question. What are you paying attention to on the food labels? If you are reading food labels, is there certain things that you're really paying attention to? Is it the amount of sodium? Is it the amount of that harmful saturated fat? Is it maybe dietary fiber? Those added sugars. Anything you're really looking at? Maybe it's the amount of protein. Also, it could be the calories. Maybe when you look at your food items, you're looking at the calories, and maybe you're going to compare a similar food item that may have a lower calorie count. Okay. Okay, so Mary said the sugars and the calories. Okay.
And this is Patty. I do the sugars and the calories as well. I'm a diabetic, so the sugars are important.
Yeah, sugars are important, especially if you have diabetes, especially those added sugars. And you definitely want to make sure you find items that have dietary fiber. That's so good to help stabilize that blood sugar. Okay, Sabrina said she looks at the sodium. She looks at the fats, the added fats. So looking at the saturated fats. Anybody else that wants to mention what you're paying attention to on food labels, if you are paying attention? Okay, Mary said she's also looking at the percentages. Yeah, that's really, when I look at certain nutrients, I'm trying to either get more of or lower. I just simply quickly look at those percentage. Remember, 5% of that nutrient is considered, or less is considered low, 20% is considered high. So you can use that 5 to 20 rule as a quick, comparison and choosing tool. All right. Well, if no more comments, then I appreciate y'all commenting on the discussion questions. This is now taking us to the action steps for the week. And the action steps for the week are to be strategic with your grocery shopping, read food labels, and also find some healthy, convenient foods that will work for your plan. And also making sure you're applying all the fundamentals. Definitely don't forget about that foundational part, and that's at least 5 servings of fruits and veggies a day. That's at least 64 ounces of water a day. That's using that guide to smart food choices to help you select those lower calorie foods and beverages to help manage your calories. Also think about your My Plate tips and portion control for your proteins, your grains, and your dairy. Very important there. If you're using meal replacements, 1 to, but no more than 2 a day. Watch for things like additives, like the extra sodium, the added sugars, etc. And then you have your physical activity, at least 30 to 60 minutes a day of any category of physical activity, which is anything that gets you moving. Okay, so definitely don't forget about those fundamentals as well. So that's your action steps for the week. And then next week's topic is going to talk a little bit more in depth about physical activity. We're specifically going to be looking at the components, the health-related components of physical fitness. And the reason it uses the word health-related, is because if you are participating in these various components, it also helps you improve your health. Okay, so that's going to be our topic next week. And then next Tuesday, next Tuesday, I will send you the link for next Wednesday's tracker. Okay. And I think that's it. Does anybody have any questions or comments before we leave for the day?
Thank you for taking your time with us.
Oh, you're welcome, Patty. All right. I did record this. So like usual, once we do get this converted over to a YouTube link, I will email it to everybody. Okay.